Right, good evening. Welcome everybody to the Upwell Parish Council October meeting here at the Freeholds. We need to consider and approve apologies of absence, please.
Yep, so Connie Rose, Mike Turner, Chris Robinson, Richard Melton and Vivian Spikings.
Thank you. We are expecting one more councillor to arrive and she should be here very soon. Right, declaring conflicts of pecuniary interest councillors on any items in this month's agenda. You don't as the items come up, if you think of anything, then please do raise your hand and say so at the time. Thank you. To approve the minutes from last meeting. You should all have a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. Is everybody happy with the minutes from the last meeting that's here?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'll apologise now for my lack of voice sometimes, but I've had a head cold and I'm not contagious. Okay, and I have tested, it's just a head cold, nothing else. So if I lose my voice at any point, I apologise now. Okay, we move on to the public forum, where members of the public are allowed to speak. After the public forum, we're not allowed to speak, I'm afraid. So if any members of the public would like to say something, please let yourselves be known now. No? No, you're just here to observe. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, you discussed and consider the action log from the previous meeting. Thankfully, our action log seems to be getting smaller. I don't know if that's good or bad. Another one is the village feature on the riverbank opposite the church. Now, Richard isn't here. Do we have any update on this, Emily?
No. The last is still what went on there, so Graham Seaton has put in for planning permission and also contacted the MLC. He's not got back to me for any further update.
Alright, so that will just roll on then.
Yeah, I guess because it's planning, it can take a few months, can't it, Andrew, to go through?
Yeah.
Okay. The next item is the taking over from Oakley Cemetery. As of this point in time, despite Councillor Colin Rose's help, we've not heard anything back from the Borough Council. So my intention is tomorrow to send a rocket email to all those concerned and basically give them, I suppose, some sort of ultimatum. Are we all in agreement with this? Because this has been rolling on for months now.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think rather than wait for them forevermore, we need to say, right, we need to come up with a figure, tell us where it's come from. Otherwise, we might have to reconsider our position on the cemetery. Yeah? Okay. The solar lights, Freeholds and Lakes End. We did get quotes, did we not?
Well, we've had a quote for the Freehold side, we haven't had a quote for the Lakes End side. I did email her back and say, where is the Lakes End one? But I haven't had anything else back from her today.
Yeah. Did everybody open up their emails showing the cost for the solar lights? Did everyone else take a Sharpie, take a breath as I did? Yes.
I haven't looked at it, what is it? Well, I think we can put that one on hold.
How much one?
There's
One
two.
16 and one and 9.
Yeah.
So around 25 grand in total.
No, 9,000 for one row of lights down one side, or 16 for a row of lights down each side.
I apologize.
When you said 25, why I think you need sort of two rows. I mean, it's not a runway for an airplane, so I don't think you need two rows of lights. I think one row would be sufficient down the side. But when has the PPS got to be in now? Is it December?
December, 1st of December.
If we can get a quote for Lakes End for the next meeting, we'll decide to put one or both of them forward for the PPS for next year.
If you want to decide now on this one, I can put this one through, and then that's up to you whether you then decide. Because you haven't got to go through with it, have you, at the end of the day?
Oh, no.
If we don't want to. So I would suggest putting in for this one.
I would propose that we put this in the single row of loads to 9,000, one proposed that we put that into the BPS.
Anyone like to second that, please? No, I'll second it. That's only valid for 60 days anyway, so we'll have to,
Yeah.
okay. Next item, excuse me, on the agenda is 17, 19, 21 School Road. Room. Melanie.
I don't really.
So I've contacted CNC and they said they will go and have a look.
Right.
Prue has since been able to send a letter or hand deliver a letter to Master's Yard.
No, I haven't. There's no one there to deliver it.
Oh, you didn't?
The
Okay.
lady in the office has retired, there is no one there, the yard is completely closed. I left a phone message for Dave Masters, who called me back last Monday, and said he would get someone to have a look at it, but I haven't seen any signs of anything happening. Has anybody else seen anything?
There was a chap the other week, that may have been somebody to do with the CNC, out looking at the front of the property, standing back and looking up at the clipboard, so that may have been CNC. I don't think that
It
was.
was the 16th of the 9th, are you? So that work out that right, wouldn't it?
That probably was somebody from there, yeah.
Right, so what do you think is due to happen now? CNC road?
CNC should get in touch with us, but they haven't got in touch with me as yet.
Right, okay.
And obviously, Masters themselves haven't actually had anybody out. It doesn't
Well-
seem, or they haven't got back to Prue about
Well,
it.
not that I've noticed, and David Masters hasn't called me back
Okay.
to say what he's doing.
I can email CNC again tomorrow for an update.
We'll go and have a look and see if the situation is deteriorating.
Thank you. The last item is opposite Wyndham Lodge overgrown trees. The clerk has reported. Is any movement on this one?
I don't think so, because that's only been done
I
very
haven't seen
recently.
anything, I'll go past there enough,
Okay.
but I haven't seen anything major happening there. But I did find out the proper address and gave it to Melanie.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, we'll leave that one in there as ongoing for the moment. Okay, at the moment, that's all we've got in our action log. That's not to say that we won't be adding something to it in due course. Okay. Item 7 is reports from individual councillors, council groups and the clerk to begin with. As the planning applications that have been approved by the planning committee, you've all seen those. Has anyone got any comments? Are happy with those, council?
I'm going to see Dave in a minute.
Yes? Item 2 under this on the agenda is discuss the increased cost of installation of Croft Road to Back Road Trot.
So I sent you all an email last week from Jane Morse regarding the increased costs on this. And what he's suggesting is the difference we apply for another PPS to make up the shortfall.
You should have been about 4,000
That's £4,500.
in total. So if
Yeah.
you apply for another PPS grant, that will get it down to 2,340.
Yeah, but it's obviously 250 on top of what we were already going to pay in the first instance. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's another 2 million to pay on top. So it depends whether you want to go ahead and continue down that route and do it and pay the other 2.5.
They was on about doing it February next year, weren't they?
Yeah.
So if you apply for BPS, the decisions aren't made on that until February or March, so it's going to be at least 2024 potentially before it gets done, unless they're already prepared to do it earlier. But
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, unless we tell them that we can go ahead and claim for another previous grant.
Are they not wanting to put their costs allocated to it?
what was the status with in between Lakesend Village Hall and the bus shelter? Did we apply for that under PPS or SIL or?
I've applied for it under PPS, but that's under this round.
Yeah.
They haven't come back to me and said that that's gone up in price at all. So
No.
whether it has or not, I don't know. But I've applied for it under PPS. yes, but it is this round, so we won't know until
Yeah, well, that was a more recent quote, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The quote for that back road trod was this time last year, so that's over 12 months ago, Red Cross.
I suppose it's understandable then, it's increased, but it seemed to increase by an awful lot, doesn't it?
Just for an example, Wellney, we're going to have some pavements done in Wellney. The cost was £12,000 and it's gone up to £32,000. Wellney refused to pay the difference.
Yeah, but if you talk about anything related to tarmac, there's a petroleum product. Petroleum has gone up, anything made with petroleum or that sort of byproduct is all going to go up. So I imagine that's where the cost increase is coming.
Very true. So, Council, what are our thoughts on this? Are we going to... We've already started this process for this particular...
And I suggest that we go for another PPS grant, which will be the next round, but will make it fit either that any further increase in costs in the section. And that will result in our asking for our money back that we will pay. Does it make sense to you?
Can't hear you actually, Prue. These people.
We can't hear you. I mean, the councillors have got their news in front of them, so they know what you're talking about. But at the back here, we can't hear a word.
You can't hear us?
No, we can't hear you at all. We can hear a voice, but it's not clear enough to hear.
Right, okay. Is that me or anybody?
Well, I can hear. I know you've forgotten your name there, but I could hear you. But the ladies, I can't hear at all.
You can't hear me?
No.
Oh, right.
And the lady next to you, Jill.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not much good at shouting.
You don't need to shout.
Pardon?
You don't need to shout, just to project your voice a bit more.
Well, I've just suggested that we agree to put in another bid to the parish partnership scheme, which will be in the next round, which will be an increased cost to somewhere the £2,000 to the council, this council. But we point out that any further increase is unacceptable, and if the cost goes up again, we will be asking them to return the money we've already paid, which is about 11,000 specifically.
Councillors' thoughts?
Is this proposed trod already on the map board as a footpath?
No, I don't think it is.
No, it's not a footpath.
Because it's proposed at this one, so if it doesn't exist currently, it's not on the board. I think if we spent 11,000 on it, do we put in another 2? We've already spent 11. Then it's a process that's underway, isn't it?
It's never going to get any cheaper, so...
So what we're saying basically is we've spent £11,000, or effectively spent £11,000 so far, that we will continue and apply for the increase, which is what, £4,000 at the next round, for the next round of funding.
But that will only be half 4,000, because only to pay.
Yes, so is council happy with that solution, bearing in mind that this might not now happen until 2024, 23?
23, 24.
Yeah,
I don't
What's the
know.
scope of the 11,000 that spent coming back? Is it likely that we get that back?
I would think so, yes, because the cost has increased to what we had originally applied for.
If it's 2 years,
I don't know whether Chris knows.
that might be
Will
better.
we get it back? I don't think there's an issue about getting PPS money back, is there?
I'm a bit concerned about it full stop, if I'm honest, because as Andrew's already identified with the cost of tarmac, etc., these costs are just going up and up and up, and it's causing problems all over. And we've got to build into the fact that budget cuts coming forwards, and I think, projects coming forward in 23, 24 are going to be considerably more expensive than they are today. Not just materials-wise, but everything will filter through. I think the problem that we've had is some of the rates that were being used to work with earlier hadn't been revised in a while as well. So we've seen this massive uplift in the costs. So my concern would be delivering any project 18 months hence from now, wherever the money comes from. And I can't see the partnership scheme being increased greatly, certainly not in line with inflation, because we've got to find such a big deficit at the county council to cover, I won't say more important things, but things such as children's services, adult services, etc., things that we can't actually cut because of the statutory requirements. And already we're seeing it on a wider remit regarding highways, with the difficulty in trying to get maintenance work done. We suffered quite badly with our peat and the heat we had during the summer. As you can see, a lot of our A roads have got cracks and problems, etc., and they're just going to gobble up a lot of the money. So I'm concerned about delivering all sorts of infrastructure projects, if I'm honest.
So that Rob suggested, thank you, because it might actually make sense to start on
I would agree, yes.
Just revisit it.
Yeah.
When we're ready.
Yeah, with that knowledge, thank you, Chris. I would definitely, as Robert's proposed, to basically ask for our money back and mark time until we know what's happening in the world for a couple of years' time.
That's why I asked if it's on the map board. If it's not on the map board, then it won't affect it if it's not there. So I think it'd be a wise move to get the money back. I mean, this is probably what shows the increase in costs for the other solar lights, because they fix them with a resin compound. All of that has all gone up in price. Everything is going up in price. So that's why things, make it take a stop and take a breath when you see them. But in reality, if you look at other things which have gone up in price, there's no difference, is there? I mean.
All right then. So the proposal is to ask for the £11,000 back and to cease pursuing this particular project. Is this seconded? Andrew, vote on it please.
Did you say cease for the time being?
Yes.
Put it on the back burner?
We have to.
Yeah.
Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah, good.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Next on the agenda is to discuss the cost implications of having 3 polling stations in one parish area.
Okay, just because I've been doing a lot of work, I've started to do a lot of work regarding the budget for next year, and as you know, we've got an election next year. And one of the things that I know I've spoken to you guys about before, and also with Andrew Barrett, who does the electoral services over at King's Lynn, is the fact that we have 3 single polling stations, which obviously costs us money. It would have to be something that we'd have to consult with the parishioners about. But we do have 3 one's bigger than the other 2 I know, but we do have 3 polling stations, and we pay 3 lots of paperwork, staff, printing, hall hire, everything else. So it's just something that we need to consider really. One of the things that made me start to do this was because a couple of weeks back I went to the Norfolk Parish Partnership Seminar over at Norwich and sat there with over 40 of us there, and some of them were some of the big town councils in Norwich, and everybody was saying the same. They are making cutbacks wherever they can. They are decreasing some of their meetings, so they're going down from 12 to 10 a year because you're not paying for hall hire, etc., stuff like that. Any new scheme, they're basically saying we're doing no new schemes in the next year, even the big councils, and they're talking about hundreds of thousands per reset when money comes in, whereas ours are only a few thousand. And one of the things that we sort of discussed was things like polling stations. The fact that would it be something that would save us a bit of money. I did send you round the rough estimate of costs. We can't say exactly what it'll cost us next year because we don't know. So it's sort of over to you guys really, what you think.
Can you remind us what the costs actually are?
I can if I can find it quick enough. Talk amongst yourselves. So Andrew Barrett, the second email that I had from him said that about 4 or 5 years ago the Borough Council did write to Upwell Parish Council, the electors, because they actually wanted to merge down from 3 to 1. So that was the second one that I got from you. Let me see if I can find the first one. So this is his best guess. If an election is uncontested, I would expect the parish recharge to be in the region of £50 to £100 absolute max for all parishes. If the election is contested, and this is a tricky one as Upwell has 3 polling stations, but I expect the recharge to be between £1,500 to £2,000. This would normally be doubled for a standalone election, but as this would be shared with borough elections, the cost would be halved.
So that actually means it will be £1,500 to £2,000 for a shared election, but it will be £3,000 to £4,000 if it was a standalone election. Is that right? It's ambiguous.
So a standalone election, so similar to when we've been contested before, that's going to be roughly £4,000. It cost us 3.5, didn't it, before? Yeah. So obviously the money's gone up with printing and stuff like that, as we well know, so it would be about £4,000 if it was contested and it was a standalone election.
Sorry, I was going to say, is that total cost, is that per station?
Total cost.
And do we know the figures of attendance at the last election in each polling station?
I don't know, I can ask. Yeah.
Because I think before you pull the plug on polling stations, you need to find out how, if 3 people turned up here and 4 people turned up at 18, there's an argument for it. If the whole village came, then it's a different proposition.
Are the recharges what the Borough Council pays out to the presiding officer,
Yes.
and poll clerk and the hire of the hall? So the Borough Council,
And all the paperwork.
so the Borough Council pays the village hall, but then recharges that back to the parish council.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And things like the paperwork, so say there's, I don't know, 1,000 residents in Lakes End, they obviously have to print 1,000 leaflets in case everyone turns up. But if only 3 turn up, you've got 997 that go in the bin. And if you've got more than 1 bit of paper, obviously that's just multiplied.
Well, I dare say that.
Having been polling clerk.
I dare say that probably with a small amount of people, probably a parish in Lakes End, if anybody is in the village and can't get out and they're housebound, would probably have a postal vote.
Yep.
Anybody who's at work outside of the polling hours would have a postal vote. So it's only the people that are probably able-bodied and can walk or drive that would go to Lakes End. So you've got to have a polling clerk who's being paid to sit there probably 6 o'clock till 10:30. If everybody that's able-bodied or can drive,
It's about 5:30 till 10:30, having done it.
5:30 and 10:30, sitting there. If everybody goes in at the crack of dawn, or sort of waits till 8 o'clock, goes and votes at 9 o'clock, and the whole pack, everybody that's able-bodied in Lakes End has done it, with everybody else having a postal vote or proxy vote, and you've got 3 people sitting there for the rest of the day being paid, doing nothing, and the village hall has obviously got maybe have its heating on, lights. That can all be a tremendous amount of saving if people were willing to just get in their car, or say, 3 or 4 people come in a car to come up to Upwell, or 3 holes if you reduce it from 3 down to 2.
I think Rob's question about how many people attend is a good one. I don't think we can actually make a decision until we have those figures, but what you've said is actually very valid, if there are very few. So can we move that to the next agenda,
one?
please?
Yeah, absolutely.
And find out in the meantime how many people, if possible, did actually use polling stations here and at that side.
Yep, we'll do it.
At the last election, not just the referendum.
Okay, next on the agenda is to discuss the War Memorial and Remembrance Sunday service. Through.
We had a meeting with Sally Brooks from the British Legion and the Reverend Daphne about Remembrance Sunday. All go ahead as usual at the War Memorial. We need to ask Tim to watch the memorial, which he will do. Will you do it or shall I?
I can ask him.
Yes. And he also, get the grounds ready and sweep up and take the gate off its hinges. The service will be in St Peter's. The parade will leave the playing field car park at 11:45. PA has been arranged. It's traditional for the council chairman to lead the memorial. And it's traditional for the deputy chairman to lay wreath.
Yeah, should be able to do that.
You're okay to do that?
Yeah.
Right. I'll get the wreath from Sally. And did Paul Williams hand over anything?
It did. I've already got the list of names.
You've already got
I've already got all that, yes.
Okay.
Have you got the times right through? You said that the parade leaves playing field at 11:45. I thought Remembrance Sunday the 2 minute silence was at 11.
Yeah.
So if it leaves at 11:45, which will be missed.
Sorry, perhaps I should have said 10:45.
10:45.
Yes.
It takes about 5 minutes to walk up there, so possibly we said 20 to 11. I'll have to check with Sally, but anyhow.
And everybody needs to be up there beforehand anyway, so if they leave 3 minutes early.
Are you happy to hand out orders of service at the War Memorial Gate? Following the service at the memorial, the service will be in St Peter's Church.
Can you confirm the timings, please?
I will check with Sally. My mind has gone blank. We only met a week ago, but I didn't make any notes, which was stupid.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Otherwise, apart from that, a number of the what's the new hedge you made of? A number of the yew plants have failed. CGM made an allowance in their costing to replace those.
They didn't? No, because I wrote to them a little while ago and they said that wasn't in the contract to replace it that died.
I'm absolutely certain it was.
They wrote back and said no to Richard. I can find the email, I don't know where it is now.
I think we need to find the contract because I'm absolutely certain the quote included a percentage for replacing.
As Richard said, probably 2 or 3 months ago that some of it had died.
Yes, and I went up there and tried to water it, but it was so hot and it was just...
How big were these yews?
Full height.
Right, so why did we not go for bigger plants?
They would have failed even more quickly, the smaller one were better.
Right.
But I will have a look, I am absolutely certain. And also, CGM at one point, 2 years ago, offered free maintenance to the grass in the autumn in the War Memorial Garden in return for using it as publicity. And we have never had, I have asked for confirmation on this, whether they are actually going to do it this year as well as last year.
I didn't think it was just the autumn, I thought it was all year that they was going to maintain the grass. We've got
So I found the, so this comes from Harriet. I've spoken with the operation manager who quoted for the works. We have looked through the quote we have on file and the replacement of the shrubs was not part of the quotation.
Well,
And that was back in July I asked that question.
I will have a look when I get home, because I think there is, I don't think that's the case.
It's not part of the quotation that we accepted, unless you can find a different quotation that we accepted.
Well, I will have a look.
And then I'm afraid we've got a blank for our way on that one.
Because Richard wrote to them originally and then I wrote again. So Richard put at least 3 of the hedge saplings in the War Memorial haven't taken. There was original provision in their quotation, which is the same as what Prue said, and then that's when they came. Then I asked them again because they didn't come back to us and they said no, it wasn't.
Well, Richard thought there was, and I thought there was, so I'll have another look.
Okay.
We just need a copy of the actual quote that was accepted.
Yeah.
Please.
I'll have it somewhere.
Okay. All right. Well, can we roll that one on to the next meeting when everyone's had a chance to look for quotations? Right. Thank you. Next is the Upwell Christmas Lights competition. Ros.
Yeah, we usually do a competition throughout villages, Lake Cemetery, Upwell, house lights, business lights, and I was going to suggest we have a Father Christmas Scarecrow competition as well.
Why not? Because the Scarecrow competition went down very well, didn't it, in a few villages up? Yeah.
I just wondered whether we did it this Father Christmas.
Not a bad idea. Yeah.
As long as they don't scare the children. Never seen a Father Christmas Scarecrow before, so children go around and think that's what Father Christmas probably looks like. They want to scare them.
Rob and I and Emma had a ride around last year. I think possibly Rob's idea last year was that we should advertise it beforehand so people can actually go and look at some of the lights that are in the area. I mean, there's a lovely one down Cockfair Road?
Yeah.
No. Is it?
Yeah, it's
All Hartleys.
Right.
Yeah, down next to that was nice. Yeah. So if we can advertise that on the website or anywhere else.
We'll put it on there. Give us a date.
Facebook is the best one. You
Yeah.
really need a date of when you're going to judge it to put it in there.
The next magazine will go out before Christmas.
Any idea? Any dates planned?
Not yet.
Okay.
Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah. Okay. You get dates set up for November's meeting, and then we can take it from there. But that's a good idea.
Just the sooner you get it onto Facebook, somewhere like Facebook, the sooner people will start getting the stuff together, won't they?
Okay. Is that it? Yes. Thank you. Okay. To discuss the land tenancy agreements, Andrew.
Yes, Patrick Craven, aka Bliss Farms, his land tenancy is now up for all of the Three Holes Charities and Three Holes Foxes, and also the Lowside Field. I've exchanged an email with Patrick. I had a job to get hold of him for a start, but Melanie managed to get hold of Vicky for me. And Patrick replied, yes, he's happy with everything, what I suggested. So I propose that we renew the contracts for Three Holes Foxes and Charities in Town A, their Marchville side for a 5-year contract, and the Lowside land for a 12-month rolling contract, depending on what happens with that. It just means that we would have to give him 12 months' notice to end his tenancy on the Lowside Field, if and when we know what's happening.
We would hope something will be happening on the ground within 12 months, but if he has a year's tenancy from, we can give him 12 months notice from this month.
We can give 12 months notice we can give him 12 months contract from now, but if we want the land back next year, we can't take it. We would have to give him 12 months notice of termination of his contract next October. So in fact, he has the land for 2 years, but only 1 year on a 1-year contract plus 1 year's notice.
Well, I think we should give him notice this year and explain that because it's possible that we will get planning permission and go ahead within 12 months. So I think we should advise him.
Can do, and then if it doesn't go ahead, but if it doesn't go ahead, then we can't give him 12 months notice to quit land that we've already given him 12 months notice to quit. He won't have it, will he? If we give him 12 months notice to quit now, he will farm it next year, and then come next October, if planning permission hasn't come through, if things don't go quite right or don't go according to the time scale, do we then give him 12 months notice to quit land for October 23 to October 24 that he's already had notice to quit for?
And there's the fear of if it doesn't go through, who's going to look after that land?
Who's
We'll
going to look after
have
that?
to keep it clean, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a small piece anyway. I mean, Patrick would probably, as a goodwill gesture, keep on farming it, but I don't think it's fair to give him 12 months notice to quit, say, right, Patrick, you've given me your 12 months notice termination of the low side field now, which he hasn't got a contract for because the contracts are due or run out the next couple of days for the various fields.
That's now
Tomorrow.
till the 11th.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Contract round.
Yeah. So if we give him 12 months notice of contract to end now, and if things go pear-shaped, don't go as quickly as we want, we have hiccups and hurdles come the following October. We can't say, oh, would you like to farm it for another 12 months? Because then he's probably going to turn around and say, well, when are you going to expect me to give the land up? Because farmers need to plan ahead what we're going to grow.
Well, I fully understand that, but I'm just trying to work out. I just don't know how long it is likely to take to get through the planning process and...
We haven't even got to planning yet, have we?
No, we haven't got planning.
Surely a 2-year period isn't that long. I mean, are we desperate to, if everything goes according to plan, are we desperate to sell it? Are we desperate to have the money from it within 2 years?
No, but we should not let it, fall by the wayside. We've got a public consultation next month.
Yeah, but if and when planning permission is granted, full planning permission, it will last for 3 years anyway.
Yes, but you're saying that if we don't give him notice this October, then we will give him notice next October,
Yes.
when he will then, it will then be 2 years, it will be October 24 before we can do anything with that land.
Yeah, but is it that desperate?
I think there
My
are two.
personal opinion is how things are going. You don't worry too much about selling. Mortgage rates going up and everything. So I think basically it's going to be a sticky wicket for time now. Selling properties or building.
I think there are too
Anyway.
many variables attached to the low side land proposition at the moment. So I personally would agree with what Andrew is saying, that the tenancy needs to be redone under the 2 years that you said, the year, as you said.
We need a contract for
Contract, yeah.
We need a contract for 1 year, and then we should have a contract then to terminate next year should everything fall into place.
We are far from anywhere yet on the low side land, not even. We've not even really started, in all honesty, have we?
Now, the first public consultation is November,
Yes.
and the people at upstairs recommended 3 public consultations, 1 at each stage, and the last one is going to be before planning permission is put in place. So we've got no design, no layout, all of those things could change depending what the public consultation reveals.
I think it could take at least 12 months to get to that stage, quite frankly, the way things are. And as Keith quite rightly has pointed out, the way the fiscal world is at the moment, chances are we'll have a hard task at this moment in time, if we were ready, to actually get someone to take it up. So, are you proposing, who agrees with Andrew's proposal that we renew these contracts?
I do, and the reason being, even if you get planning, it's not just all going to come together. The council hasn't agreed on exactly, if you get planning, what you're going to do with it. I was trying to push to keep part of it back. This is all down to the architect to draw up plans that the council agree on, and that it would make a best way of selling the bit that we want to sell. You know, there's a lot of hurdles to go over yet, so I agree with what Andrew's saying, purely because I can't see it all coming together quickly. That's when you get planning, I just can't see it happening that quick. You get planning, the council decide exactly what they want to do, then you've got to get the plan drawn up and agreed. Then if you're going to sell a part, you're going to have to find a buyer. It won't happen overnight. Just won't happen that quick. Well, I don't believe anyway.
Especially how things are.
Yeah, no, it won't happen that quick, I don't think.
So can I take it everyone is in agreement with Andrew's proposal to renew the contracts as is already stated? Yes? Yes. Right, thank you. Your comments are noted though, Prue, but thank you.
Andrew, are we happy with the current fence?
Fine.
Are you happy with the current fence for the agricultural lot?
I think so, again, with how things are with land prices and everything, yeah.
Okay,
Again, we'd have to give 12 months notice to put those up, and I think Patrick as well, we've got to remember that was about 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, he did all of the dikes out on the freehold side.
Yeah, on the undertaking that he would.
Yeah, and so that was all done at his own expense. He keeps the land in very good condition, does the verges, the dikes all chained, so all at his own expense. So he's a very good tenant. So I think we should just let him carry on.
Thank you. The next is to note the dates of the Parish Council surgeries. So the next are all set for this month. On the 24th at 10 o'clock in the morning is Lakes End.
And that is Christine, Chris Robinson and Chris Dawson has now said he can attend that one as well.
Okay. And then on the same day, at 7 o'clock in the evening, there'll be one here at Three Holes.
And that is going to be Andrew, Ros and Mike.
Okay. And on Tuesday the 25th, there'll be one at 7 p.m. in Upwell.
Which again is Ros, Richard and Chris Dawson, hopefully.
Okay. These are all noted in the parish magazine, which has just been delivered. So, hopefully you can about that. Right, thank you. Number 8, to discuss and approve the risk management policy.
So I've made no changes to this at all. It's one that we have to approve every year.
Is everyone happy with the risk management?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that as approved.
And the training one, again, I've made no alterations to that, and this is I believe it's a 2-year one.
It is. Is everyone happy with the training schedule?
Yeah.
Policy? Yes, fine, thank you very much. Number 9, to discuss the casual vacancy. We have one application, as far as I'm aware.
So we've had one application, but as was rightly pointed out to me, the guy hasn't lived in the parish for 12 months, so he can't actually apply. So we won't know until the 14th of October, which is when Friday, whether we've been took to election or not. I haven't heard anything, so I presume at the moment we haven't. But then after the 14th I can actually advertise the casual vacancy as such and try and get somebody on board.
Okay, thank you. Number 10, to note any health and safety issues, councillors. Anything to Brian?
While I was talking to somebody at 97 School Road, a tanker went past, and this was about 8:30ish. And it wasn't a tanker delivering fuel, it was a bead tanker. And it wasn't Anglian water or anything that looked kind of obvious, as if there was a need for it to be in School Road. And bear in mind at that time, you've got all the mums parking up to take their kids to school. But apart from that, I've seen a lot more heavy-duty traffic coming and going. Being that my house is right on the edge next door to the road, each vibration, I feel it in the house. I don't even have to look out the window. I know they're over more than 7.5 tonne. A single unit that pulls a trailer is 9 tonne plus. What some of the modern day tractors weigh. Now I do bear in mind I'm living in a farming community, so I try to close my eyes as much as possible to tractors and trailers. But School Road, being there's a school there, there's far too much heavy traffic. can something be done about it? Can we send letters anywhere? Can we ask for some help in some way? Because they're ignoring the signs. The signs are still there, either end of School Road, but it just seems that they're ignoring them.
Has this started since Welney, since the work started at Welney for the floodgates?
Well, I can't say that it's just down to Welney. I really can't say that.
Because a big tanker, a big lorry might not actually get through Welney at the moment with the way they've got the, I've always been down there lately, but the way they've got the temporary traffic lights, it's a bit of a slalom for a car. Big vehicle would never get through it, so I'm wondering, not it's right, but I'm wondering if...
Yeah, but if there's a problem, then there should be diversion signs put up. So then, if you see a diversion sign pointing up School Road, you say, well, fair enough. There's a reason.
I think the only way we can do something about this is to have the names of the people of the number plate or names on the side of these vehicles, because otherwise we've got no one to talk to. Anybody else want to come in on this, Andrew?
I found that the best solution is if you can get the name, registration and time of the lorry, and whether it's like Fresh Link or Buffalo or any like, get the name, rather than troubling Melanie, I usually, if I've got my phone on me, I'll take a photograph of it, because usually if they come through School Road, they spend about 5 minutes trying to negotiate getting into Baptist Road. So there's plenty of time to get a photograph. I then Google the firm, look at contacts or inquiries, email them, send them a photograph of the picture, and then probably within a couple of days I get a response saying thank you very much, we will be speaking to the driver and disciplinary action will be taken if they have indeed gone through a 7.5 weight limit without due reason, because they have trackers so they can confirm it. I did have one where they said that we can confirm that the lorry did go through, and we will be speaking to the driver and take disciplinary action if necessary. So if you email them directly with evidence, I found that rather than taking Melanie, there's a firm at this time of this registration going through, if you do it yourself and be polite about it, I get a better response and go that way forwards.
No, what you're saying is quite right, Andrew, but what about all the times they come and go when, like yourself, I'm out of work, I'm not there and it's still happening? That's the trouble.
Rose?
I did ask several months ago for a sign to be put at the top of Baptist and on top of Newbridge for 81st, because Jess First herself was concerned about any vehicles that should be going to them going down School Road. Don't think it's materialised yet, Chris. I mean, apparently at one stage they were told to go and buy it themselves.
Right?
That's very often the one. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So we can all go and stick a sign on a signpost then?
No, you can't go and stick a sign up, but you could fund it.
Yeah, I think they would do that actually. Yeah.
Well, perhaps would you kindly ask Hursts if they tell them the state of play and if they would like to fund one, then we can certainly then make movements for one to be set up. Keith?
The problem is, it's like when they do that kind of person, they come on the new bridge, there's that person's there, and they go straight down. But instead of that, they come down School Road, because what they don't look at is not the signs and the weight limit, they look at the sat nav. And if until they change the sat nav, they ought to go down Newbridge Road, all got to do it. They just look at that, come up the road, and they, like Andrew says, they struggle to get round the corner, knock the fence down, and that's why they just look at the sat nav.
I mean, I've seen articulated lorries going down Stonehouse Road. Yeah. Going down to Curzon's, down Stonehouse Road.
Right, okay.
And today, I got one better. One was trying to turn into the Russets. Got no markings on the lorry whatsoever. And he was a screw whiff across the junction.
Keith's quite right, they do follow, we've all done it, we all follow our sat navs and actually without looking at the road signs properly. Brian, getting back to your original complaint, Andrew's solution does seem to be a good one and a quick one.
Oh yeah, no, nothing wrong with that, but I'm saying we're not all standing outside around.
No, I mean, perhaps if, I mean, I don't know if it's the same firms that are doing it, but perhaps it's a start, it's a chip off the top of the iceberg, I know. but it would be a start. Beyond that, I really am at a loss as to what we would need to do.
Couldn't
because
we
have
get
to
bigger
highways
signs?
again, and nothing's going to.
Couldn't we contact highways and ask for a bigger sign or any suggestions from them of how we could try and help the matter, you know, to stop this?
Highways will say that the signage is standard signage.
Exactly.
It's standard.
It would be exactly.
Yeah.
What could help was if that cherry tree, what is on the corner of New Bridge opposite the Globe, was taken down, because in the spring and summertime, when that's underneath, it obscures one of the 7.5 ton weight limit signs. So that really does need either cutting back on that corner or taking it out completely.
We had this discussion before,
Yeah.
nobody would accept
I
responsibility.
think you contacted the Globe and they said it wasn't theirs. But they would be the first people we would expect to kick up a fuss if somebody took a chainsaw to and cut it down. But
So who owns that piece of brick and bank?
well, that's what needs establishing.
There's a Well Creek Trust sign on there now.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, I just happened to see it when I
Yes.
walked over there with the
It's
dog.
been there for 3 months.
That I was obscured by the tree, nearly got knocked over.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Graham Seaton.
A solution to that then, yes, if we, Melanie, if you will kindly contact the Welle
It's
Film
not very long, I
Trust
don't think, is it?
and tell us, tell them our dilemma, would they kindly at least prune back said cherry tree so that it does not obscure the road sign?
Are the signs flat at the end of School Road? So as you put it around the corner, are they?
Well, you've got you coming over New Bridge.
Yeah.
You've got the one which is obscured the cherry tree, which is right in front of it.
Yeah.
The other one, because it's on the post on the corner of the Globe,
Yeah.
is at a slight angle, but it still indicates that School Road is a 7.5 ton weight limit.
Right.
But crucially, below that, there's the sign saying KJ Curtin Farms.
Yeah, I just wondered if they were angled slightly to New Bridge. That where as you come over, you see them, rather than once you've committed.
I think that you're getting at, is the point, they're already kind of committed, and then they see the sign too late, they've already committed.
There is
If they're
sign
a big lorry, they don't want to back up, they don't want to just carry on.
There is I think it's a blue sign just before you get to Ransom's Close, and also as you approach Bald Bridge from 16 foot saying 7.5 ton weight limit. And so they get a pre-warning that there's a 7.5 ton weight limit down there. But and coming over the bridge, they shouldn't be coming at any great speed. So once they've got their tractor unit over New Bridge, they are then timed to go straight down New Road, having seen the 7.5 ton weight limit.
It's flat rather than
Yeah.
angled, whether you would see it last minute.
You see, highways will only put them at the start of the weight limit. They won't put them a few hundred yards in front, because that was related.
What I'm saying is, as you come around the bridge, like New Bridge to School Road, they're there, and once you then kind of semi-committed. Where if they were angled, so you saw them coming over the bridge.
You could, I suppose the only alternative would be to ask highways if they consider putting another sign on the canal side before they got to New Bridge, warned right, 7.5 ton weight limit ahead, so that they're already aware that that's where they're coming up to.
I mean, they've gone through the 7.5 ton, they broke the law. And as far as the sat-nav scenario that's concerned, if it's a problem actually with sat-nav, it will tell them there's a 7.5 ton weight.
Yeah.
So if you're using a car sat-nav in a truck, they're can't put them into it. But other than that, it's only just got to kind of, as you see.
There is a blue sign at the end of Stonehouse, it says unsuitable for HGVs. I've seen several go down there this summer.
Yes, certainly.
Okay. Sorry, Keith.
Here's one housing site, there's one other little thing I'd like to bring up. I've had a few people sort of bring to my attention and sort of moan a bit, but I don't understand it. It's around Croft Terrace and Norton's Road, as you go around there, all part on the side. I've got people, even, two ladies told me, they live that end, and they'll come towards Upwell there, but when it goes going home, they don't go that way, they go right around New Road, because when they get back up there, there's so many cars on side, there's nobody getting, you can't see what's coming around the corner. I mean, we sort of been out there before, so it appears, just don't seem to have nothing much to do, but I mean, they don't do nothing, I don't think until something happened there.
Well, Well, somebody car did get snapped, didn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, up near John Hanson's butcher shop, it's a lady who's got a disabled son,
Yeah.
and somebody smacked straight into her car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I see that right from there to the other
I
side
know.
of that,
You can't see a thing, and they've all got access round the back,
no.
and big accesses with gardens.
Well, one of these ladies told, she said her son years ago lived there, and she said there's enough room round the back there for him to have 3 cars.
Yeah.
But see, you've got to go round the back, you can't just fall out the front door and get in your car, can you?
I don't really know if people choose to park on the road, they choose to park on the road. They don't get in line or double get in line, there's nothing they can do about it.
Unfortunately, you're allowed to park on the highway. Yeah, it's just consideration, really. It's down to consideration at the end of the
I think
day.
it's a bit like school though, once you've committed to overtake, if you suddenly meet something coming around the corner which you can't see, you've got to hope that that person is not going at breakneck speed and will stop and let you pull in. But the trouble is the size of the vehicles. You've got a large converted Land Rover Discovery converted with big tyres and everything for off-road use. There's often a couple of vans parked there as well, which all make the road itself narrower. As well as the woman who insists on putting her flower bed, Mark Sharman has looked at it, but there's a woman who insists on keeping her flower pot on the edge of the, which is the public highway.
She did move back when I think when council come marked along there, and she moved back, but I think one of them's now sort of started to hedge out a bit more.
Yeah, but there's nothing, nothing you can do about it.
There isn't, I'm afraid. It's
No.
just a nuisance. Yeah.
I've got one more health and safety issue. I believe Welle Creek Trust are now starting to do something with the riverbank opposite the church. I noticed the earth and that and shuttering is now all falling into or falling onto the estate. Shouldn't not be some sort of health and safety policy? They put some hearers fencing or something at the top of the bank or something to stop people going on there now that work's commenced.
Whereabouts is this, Andrew?
On the landing stage opposite St Peter's Church. I noticed it.
On the same side as St Peter's Church.
Yeah.
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 But on
So I know they're taking
yeah.
You know, they took the plants out, it looks like say the shuttering was holding the earth up, it's all collapsing. But I thought there should have been some sort of hearers fencing or something putting along.
Yeah, they've
On the verge.
public that it's out of bounds for the month of October, but they've done nothing else.
No, I mean, notifying the public is nothing, because you're going to get half term coming soon, that's going to get kids going down there. The odd fisherman might still think, oh, I can still get down until you put fencing up there, which physically says no entry. And it is going to be it's a work site, you've got people working there, and I think we just need ask Welle Creek Trust to make that area secure whilst the work's ongoing.
Yeah, I can contact them.
Right,
That's
cool.
not a problem.
Okay, any more health and safety issues? No? Okay. Moving on to finance, to note the payments made since the last meeting.
Nothing greatly exciting to tell you on that.
Excuse me, Ed, could you turn your phone off, please?
I left it in the car.
You left it in the car?
I left it in the car.
Thank you.
Nothing very exciting on there to tell you. Pretty straightforward.
Can I just ask that, I did mention a few months ago, and kind of it's, in your hours, if you could split what is clerk or what is
I do on the cash book. I haven't done on here, Andrew, but I can put it on there for you as well.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
sometimes,
I do on the
sometimes
cash
have a look, but it's just a case of, because we know that the cemetery hours is kept separately, we just need to see what is cemetery and what is council. Not that I'm going to complain, but it's just
No,
nice to see them as two separate entities. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do, Andrew.
Thank
That's
you.
not a problem.
To note income and expenditure balances reconciled from the previous month. Everyone happy with those?
Again, nothing exciting to tell you on there.
No. And the same for the village hall account.
I haven't got that one open, so hopefully that one's all right.
Yeah. Are we happy with that? Yes?
Thank you.
Yeah, good. No. To note quarterly progress against budget.
I have printed off some copies if anybody wants to share. There's only a few. Do you want them?
Are you alright, Ron? Are you alright for the budget one? Did you print it off?
Hang on, I'll dig it out, give us all there. Close the meeting.
So we're halfway through the year. Anything that's got any sort of anomaly against it, I've popped a note against there. So hopefully everything is relatively straightforward for you guys.
Very good.
Has anyone got any comments?
No.
No?
Very well set.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
We are way out as far as the budget goes, but we've got the budget meeting coming up next month, so I think we go into it, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
That makes sense.
I haven't started it yet, but
Yes.
I've got it in my head through, so we'll get a date put in the diary.
Yes.
Okay. To discuss the cemetery stroke allotment quotes for new fencing. Who's it?
Do you want to lead on that, Brian?
Sorry, I'm looking through at the cemetery here and
You go back to the quarterly progress. Cemetery.
Income or expenditure?
So we spent 2,300 in the first quarter, 4,111 in the second quarter.
yeah, I'm just looking at the budget for year at 9,000. Have I glued these bits of paper together wrong, or because that seems a hell of a lot of money?
Well, that's what the budget is, but we do think it's going to be more on the cemetery, and that is more income is less than expected. So I think we need to
Your income so far this year has been 14,600. And paying out is 6,400. We've basically got double coming into what we've spent.
Yes.
Are you happy with that, Brian?
Yeah, no, I just, as you know, the cemetery is one of my little babies that I keep an eye on, and there are things over there I'd like to see happen. But I'm just concerned that we need to keep a budget for the unforeseen and so on and so forth, but I mean, I'm not entirely happy with CGM with the cutting of the grass and things like that. But I'm not about to discuss it now because it's not on the agenda, obviously, but there's lots of things, as I say, that need doing over there, and I know without us extending, as we're proposing to do, and new fences and so on and so forth, apart from all the fencing needs repainting again, but not by the payback boys, because they watered the stuff down. Where I started doing it and then carried on, the colour is still there. The other side where the payback boys were doing it, it's wishy-washy, it's practically washed away where they're diluting the stuff down. I know exactly what they've done.
Okay.
I mean, hopefully Chris is going to cut back all the nettles. I'm hoping Kelvin's going to go round and trim some of the branches coming over. Because I haven't been around to kind of, you know, have an input.
Okay. Can we have this as an agenda item for the
But
next-
sorry, as I say, sorry about that. I know it's not an agenda item, but it's just looking through the cemetery on the budget and
Referring back to the cemetery though, to discuss the cemetery allotment quotes for new fencing.
Do you want to discuss that, Brian, or do you want me to do it?
You've got the picture.
So we had 4 quotes for the new fencing. For the guys that don't know, what we're proposing to do is go into the allotments. So that means moving the chain link fence down in line with the first 2 allotments and putting panels down both sides so it looks continuous all the way down. So we had 4 quotes Brian kindly got for us. So we had one at 2,800. We had one at 6,023. We had one at 5,280, and the guy that did the last lot of fencing for us came in at 2,904.
Great variance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If we take out the 2 more expensive ones.
Yeah, so you're left with, so he's, well, you've seen them all because I've sent them all to you.
Andrew, you didn't think the first guy, the guy who did the original training, did a very good job.
No, I mean, I quoted for that, and obviously the council made its decision as to who to go for, but the person who did the original chain link fencing didn't do a very good job. And I still recall that was over £1,000 to be done. So if he's quoting 2,904 to take up the existing fence, what he'd already put in, and move it, and do quite an extensive bit of close bordered fencing down each side, that seems a very cheap price for material. Again, the cost of materials, which I know of, that seems a very cheap quote for doing it.
But the other one's cheaper than that.
And like I said, again, the other one's even cheaper, and as when we was discussing it, say when that fence was done, Councillor Spoken was here, and she quite rightly said cheapest is not always the best. I know the council is basically obliged to get the best prices, but we have to look at, are we going to be, repairing it,
I don't know what Brian thought to the guys that you actually...
Basically, the last one you got was the first one I see there, Paris.
Cheapest one, yeah.
Because he didn't even get the parish council name right, he doesn't fill me full of confidence. Apparently we changed to Upwell Council.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, he doesn't fill me full of confidence. As Andrew said, with area fencing, the one who's done the original chain link, it does seem a bit cheap. And I did explain we want exactly the same as what's already there, but continued both sides. I made it quite clear. And I mean, I couldn't even think of doing it for that personally,
no.
Being perfectly honest. I think, which I know is no good to the council, our Murphy favoured the dearest one. Purely because he seemed competent. He's the one who does the moorings along Well Creek. His name is there on where he's done.
Yes, I know.
So he seemed quite professional. The other man, I think, was Ross, put him on to me when I said we got his dates. He was the next dearest one, I believe.
Could I ask a question, please? We're getting sort of quotes and that for putting this fence up and shifting it. Have we got permission from the Borough Council to take on that extra land, because that belongs to them?
We have agreement in principle.
In principle, we have, yes, which is one of the reasons why I'm visiting the Borough Council, that particular department, tomorrow morning. Because we haven't got any further with their proposed costs to us for doing so.
Well, no, the only reason I asked, because I understood that they basically got to have planning permission to do it, to extend the cemetery.
Change of use.
Well,
Change of use, I think it's not change of use,
yeah,
possibly.
because basically that's been used as agricultural, well, not a lot of land there, but that's been used for agricultural land for years, and Charles done it. From the Borough Council.
I would somehow be surprised if
Yeah.
the Borough Council...
What I basically always think is, if we sort of got a fence and all that, and they come along and said, oh, well, you didn't ask permission. sort of thing, what do you do?
I get your point. I'd be very surprised if the
I
borough
think,
council
I
turned around.
think I ought to be clarified
Told us.
before we get, you know, before we
Not
start
considering,
doing it.
yes.
I met Paul down when he was chair with an architect guy. And did
Yeah,
he-
we've paid him.
Did we not?
We never put in for the
Oh,
planning
didn't.
commission, we
Right.
paid him for the work,
Yeah,
We
but then we didn't actually put it in.
Because we don't know where we are with the
No.
budget.
right, okay.
But Christine, it might be worth including in your letter to them tomorrow, to say that having failed to hear from them, we are going to proceed with extending, removing the fence and extending it.
Good point. I can take it.
Is it correct that you did have a meeting over the cemetery and there was members of the council attending that and they preliminary verbally agreed to extend it?
They told us exactly.
Oh, I don't know, I wasn't, that was my holiday from the council for a period.
Yes, they did. They told us, they set out in black and white what we could do and what we couldn't do, and they have no objection whatsoever.
Can I ask on the fences? I mean, I've been in contact with the cemetery group over saying that we just want what that chain link fence should form the fence of the end allotments, which makes common sense. Is there still a proposal to put a gate in that fence for any reason, and what is going to happen to the future disposal of spoil from the cemetery? Bearing in mind that the extension is going to be grassed and used as a burial ground, so what's going to happen to the spoil in the future?
We still have to have a spoil heap in that bit for the time being.
What will then be in part of the cemetery?
Yeah.
So there won't be no need for a gate in the chain link fencing?
No.
Okay.
I did ask the contractors to put a gate where the path is because it wasn't made clear whether there was a gate required or not. I did wonder why you needed a gate, because you're not going to go and put the spoils way down the other end, and if you do, what are you going to do? Get a skip and so on and so forth. None of that was discussed. So I just said to each contractor that we would require the gate moved level with the path for the allotments, but as you say, there's probably no need for a gate.
No.
If memory serves me, going back, what's the reason not for dog walkers, or not for dog walkers, because
Everybody that used to walk
there was
with
dog
us,
walkers going through, and that was meant to be as a deterrent, so you couldn't go through, and that was the reason why.
And that was there was originally a reason. There was originally a fence there, and then the grave diggers piled the spoil up along the fence, so you could literally walk over it. And the fear was that if too many people over a period of time kept walking from Stonehouse Road to St Peter's Road, they would then claim it was a public right of way or public access, so you had to stop it.
Yes, so yes.
We'd actually save some money if we don't have a gate though, because we're forever changing that padlock, because somebody's forever taking it off.
Yeah.
The only thing really about it though is
I think we've had
they were saying about, well, Chris Robertson said about the actual soil that's there at the moment is spreading it across that area to try and level it a bit.
Yeah.
When that is done, and we've still got a surplus of the spoils, how do we dispose of it and get rid of it? Because if we're going to extend the fences, where Chris was good enough to get rid of it before, what we're going to do to dispose of it in the
Chris
future?
will get rid of it again for us, or somebody else would, I guess.
No, but I mean, it's a question of how.
Yeah.
Because before he could get his machine.
Yeah.
But when you've got a big fence there, is it going to be practical? Is it possible?
The last time with the spoil heap that Chris kindly cleared for us, the last time he bucketed it with a teleport over the dyke into James Brighty's yard so that he could get rid of it quite easily. But he's not going to be able to get a teleporter in there once that's all enclosed and grassed, and you've got, over a period of time, you've got burials in there. And as Brian says, if there's a fence going right up to the end of the allotments, there's a spoil heap in the corner.
Yeah. Could we? Oh, they have cremation plots on
So cremation's on the side of the dikes.
Yeah,
on
because I
both
was going to
sides.
say, if not, if you put the spoil near the fence, people are going to do what they did before, get so high, and then they're going to just step over the fence. So we need to start the cremation plots.
Otherwise, they just have a small skip somewhere, so they put it in there.
In everybody else's rubbish.
Well, some spoil needs to be left because as the graves sink,
Yeah, we topped them up using that.
Yeah.
I think
It would seem to me the cemetery group need to have a meeting about this to decide.
There is one more way of doing it. If Chris with a teleporter could manage to get near somehow, and we put the spoil in 1 ton bags, builder's bags, so at least then they're already contained. It would be easier and better than a skip, because with a skip you've got to get a motor in there.
And it sounds like one suggestion the borough wants to do.
I think it's just the grave diggers, isn't it? Because I guess they
Well, if
would
the
do
grave
it with
diggers put it into the 1 ton bags, which are near the fence, then maybe Chris can still reach over, rig something up, so you can put some straps on to lift it then from the ground and lift it over maybe. But you'd have to have a word with Chris and see whether he could do it and whether he's in favour of that.
It seems to me that this whole question needs a little bit more thought before we proceed with fences down the side, so that we can sort out the spoil heap, for number one, access to, etc., etc. Rather than go ahead and have the fence and then find that we've actually scuppered ourselves because access can't be gotten. Andrew?
I think all of this needs to be just put back until we've actually got possession of the cemetery. I mean, with your rocket that you're going to send to the Borough Council, that may or may not have an effect.
Yes.
But I mean, I think we should thank Brian for obtaining the quotes and his time in doing so.
Yes, yes.
But I think at the moment things should be, it's pointless the cemetery group having meetings down there now saying how we're going to get rid of the spoil, what we're going to be doing, this, that and the other. If because of the Borough Council continue to mess us about, we'll just say, look, we've had enough, we'll leave it to the Borough Council. I know that's not what the council wants, this parish council wants to do,
No.
but how long do we keep chasing the Borough Council and waiting and having the allotment, the cemetery group having meetings saying they want to do this, that and the other? It's all basically academic and a waste of people's time when we haven't got the paperwork signed to say that the parish council is responsible for it.
Exactly, this is entirely my point that I've made already to the Borough Council, and I should be making it again tomorrow in flashing neon lights. So yeah, okay, no. So are we in agreement that for the moment, until we've got something a little more concrete from the, a bit more concrete from the Borough Council regarding the cemetery, we put this on hold just for the moment?
Makes sense.
Yes.
It'll save a lot of people's time having a meeting and then...
Are we all in agreement with that, yes?
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, to discuss the reinvestment of the Unity bond. Melanie sent round some information on, what date was that?
Don't know.
On interest rates, because it needs to be, it's come up for reinvestment because its term is up. Oh, here we go.
Okay, look at me.
26th of September, she sent round an email from Unity Bank, which was offering their fixed deposit account at various rates. It went from 3 months to 3 years. Melanie suggested 3 years, which would attract an interest rate of 3.41, which it did then. There's no point having a 3-month or a 6-month or a 1 year, in my view. In the research I've done, the markets, as we all know, are very volatile at the moment. These rates have no actual bearing on what's happening in the rest of the world, like mortgage rates and stuff like that, because these rates are not connected to that. They will go up, yes, but they're not actually connected to what's happening to your mortgage payments. The borrowing, yeah, what you're seeing in the press is what it's connected to, but this is us lending them and they're paying us for our money at the end of the day, and you get a lower rate in that. So what are the collective thoughts then as to what term do we want to reinvest the money for? And is there a stipulation as to whether we have to reinvest? Can we reinvest that?
I presume you can, well, it says you can add to it, so I presume that you could always take away from it as well if you didn't want to invest the whole amount.
That's true. We have an option of not investing the whole amount. The other option is actually to split it so that you could have, say, some in a 3-year bond and some in an 18-month bond. The only reason for that is that after 18 months you've only got access.
And if interest rates have gone up, you can then reinvest it if you don't need it into another account.
Yeah. I would always suggest that we consider cashing it in completely. Interest rates we know are going up. At what speed we do not know. We also know that our budget is under stress, shall we say, and that if we cash it in and we have access to that money should we need it in the near future, and we can look, once we've had a proper look at next year's finances, look at how much money we can put aside and look at other investment firms. I know we're very limited as a parish council. Look at reinvesting elsewhere, or possibly the United Trust at a better rate, when the future is a little clearer as far as our own finances are concerned.
Isn't the budget only under stress though because of this SIL grant connected to the village hall where we have to spend the money before we get it back? And then when we get the money back, the budget will be back on track?
Well, very probably we've got to spend the money first. We have to spend another 22,000.
So we spent 28 of a £50,000 grant, so we've got 22 to spend.
So
Village Hall we've got 22.
So if we assume that by next April that will all be completed and the money will be back, we potentially don't need to cash in this bond to use extra money to top up the budget because the budget will be back on track. And it's only then if we decide to put the precept up, which I think we shouldn't do anyway at this stage, but what we think the cost of other things are going to be. I agree with Prue, yes, it's really nice to have some, probably a little bit of backup cash, but I don't think we need to cash in the whole amount and stick that in a fund for the parish council to sit there and not being used. This was the whole point of setting up this bond many, many years ago. We had X amount of money that was not being used and not doing anything, so it was better to get it working for us and earning a bit of interest.
Well, it's over time and depending on inflation, it can be on nothing. But we are in a position where we are going to need cash. We know that street lighting is going to go up by about 50%, and we are supposed to have a specific revenue reserve related to the precept that we currently have got. I think
You should have at least 50%.
exactly. I actually think that putting it in, it's there, it will be possibly cost us nothing to cash it in now because
It's so many days anyway, they put it into a instant access account for us.
So it's in an instant access account.
Because it matured on the 7th, so I guess it's in that instant access account already.
And I suggest if we possibly just leave it there so that if we need it, in the short term, we can withdraw it and take money into the village hall.
Could I ask, what are the stipulations if you go ahead with this for getting your money? Because I thought it was part of the thing that we had to have 50% of the budget for any unforeseen happenings, so that we instantly had money for whatever we would require it for. Now, if you invest this money, I presume when you sign the agreement, you can't get it back easily. See, being a council, a parish council, we've got responsibilities. Yes, to have money just sitting in the bank, not earning you money, it seems a waste, and it seems irresponsible. But at the same time, we have got restrictions on what we can do with this money as a parish council. So I think we need to, I'm not sure the best way of going, as I say, I've just stated the 2 points, you know, you don't want to just see it sitting there not earning, but we are obliged, 50% of the budget, to have it on hand just in case. I mean, God forbid anything does happen in the parish, but if it did, we'd be very irresponsible if we put our hands on money that we need to combat whatever's going on at the time. That's the trouble.
Chris, you were going to say something?
I'll just offer another perspective that might be worth considering, kind of following on from what Brian said. I mean, I don't know what you can and can't do with these monies or how much you can apply, but given what we've already discussed earlier about the cost of materials and where money sits on deposit, the buying power is going back at a rapid rate knots. So if you were able to invest any of that money in capital projects for the parish, then I would seriously consider it. Some 25 years ago, I sat on Upwell Parish Council when we had a sum gifted to us, as it were, of £90,000, which at that time would have built a very nice pavilion and community centre down on the playing field. You can imagine how far that £90,000 would go in construction terms today, the interest of which doesn't even cover the cost of cutting the grass on the fields. Just food for thought.
A quick calculation of the amount we've got to invest. If we reinvested the full amount based on a 18-month bond at 3.11%, we would actually get £2,463 return on that.
And inflation is running out.
Put your finger in the air because it keeps going up. It's about,
whatever we do, even if we reinvest it,
we are never going to cover inflation.
It's not
investment. It's not going to do.
Therefore, I really suggest we just leave it it's an accessible until...
But they'll refund it in 28 days if we don't do anything with
We'll have
it.
to do something with it.
We'll make full repayment electronically to your nominated bank account if we haven't heard within 28 days of the original maturity date, which was the 7th of October.
If we take it all back now, and then we should have at least 2 budget meetings before we submit the budget to the Borough Council or set our precinct.
That money I could put into our, because we've got like we've got a normal current account and then we've got a savings account, which has got £2.79 in it at the moment. So I could put the money from that into that account, so we kept it separate to the everyday money.
I'm thinking that once the budget has been discussed and finalised, we should know what money, A, what money we need, B, what money we've got, and any surplus can then be reinvested in a unity bond if necessary. We're not obliged, once we took it out, not obliged to keep it in the account and say, well, we've got X amount which we can safely reinvest, in which case interest rates may have gone up, so we may gain, even if we put it in, say, for 2 years, and say, well, we've got X amount sitting there, let's make it earn a bit of interest, and then take out another fixed rate account then, after we've sorted out the budget.
I agree, and we also might be able to find better terms for United Trust Funds sake. Just rolling over your money is like rolling over anything. We lose out.
The biggest problem sometimes, if you start cashing things in, I've seen it in the past, what happens when they get it? That starts being nibbled at, before you know where you are, that's no longer there. So you never get it back to invest it back again.
Yeah, we're going to have to be very careful if we take it out. We'll be very careful.
If it's invested, that's there. If you can't get hold of it, fair enough for a little while, but it's still there.
Yes, but we've got that second account.
I can put it in that second account, which will get us a little bit of interest.
So aren't we then, the proposal then at the moment is to not reinvest this amount, to actually take it out and put it into the second account that Melanie's spoken about, to have our budget meetings and then make the decision as to what we're going to do with this sum of money, whether we're going to reinvest all of it, some of it, or whatever. Are we all happy with that? Can we vote, please? Yeah. Carried. Thank you. The next one is to set a meeting date for the budget for 22-23.
Yeah, so this is for the Finance Committee. I have to say I haven't actually started looking fully at doing the budget yet. It's when you guys want to have the first meeting towards the end of the month, please?
Yes, we certainly need it comfortably for the next school council meeting.
What do we need it, sorry, Mum?
We need to see as well.
This month.
First one's normally this month, and then we normally try and get another one in November.
I'm stupid busy for the rest of this month, so what days are you thinking of?
I can't do the 24th because I'm at the council surgery here.
I was going to say 31st.
I can't do the 31st.
Unless you want to do a different day completely, other than a Monday.
Monday, at this present moment in time, apart from, can't do Monday anyway on the 17th. I personally have free the
7th of November. That's still before the next council meeting.
I can't do the 7th of November.
Okay.
If we want before this month, I personally can do the 19th, the 20th, the 26th and 27th.
I can't think of any reason why I shouldn't do the 19th.
I'd rather do the 26th or the 27th, bearing in mind I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't Wednesday the 26th I can't do. I could do Thursday the 27th.
I can do the 27th.
And the finance committee as well, that's here. Rob, can you do the 27th? Yes. Can we let the rest of the finance committee know?
Do the 27th?
The 27th, please. Excuse me.
And this is where? Upwell?
Yes.
What time? Do you want to do 7 or do you want to do 6:30?
7, please.
7?
Please, yeah. Lovely. Right, good. She said. Thank you very much. Right, number 12, to discuss any concerns from councillors and general correspondence. So, number 1, is there anything for Upwell matters? No?
I don't know whether under that you just want to mention, Ros, that the 2 bills that have gone up. So the rental of the community garden has gone up by £30 per annum, and there's a 10%.
£30, not a problem.
Oh, £2 £30. And there's a 10% increase for the car park. Is that right?
Yeah.
End matters. There's nobody here. Mike did have something, we can raise it at next meeting, isn't he? And 3 Holmes matters. There's nobody. No? Okay, it's all quiet then. Right, proposing the items for the next agenda. We've already recorded a few on already. Is there anything else anybody would like to put on the agenda? If they think about it, you don't have to right now, but if you think about it and let Melanie know well in advance, please, next meeting, that'll be fine. To note the date for the next parish council meeting is the 14th of November at 7 o'clock at Upwell Parish Council.
And that will be after the public consultation for the website.
It will.
And so we find that.
Yes.
That should also be on the agenda to discuss.
It will be. Yes. Okay. Oh. That reminds me, sorry, I've got to backtrack a bit. Very quickly, we'd already agreed this. This is referring to Lowside Land.
Sorry.
Mark. I kept calling Mike.
You do.
Why. But Mark came back. We had already agreed this within the budget, but he's saved us some money. We need a topographical survey, and it's a technical assessment. We actually need it, and it's needed by the architect, the layout, etc. Blah blah blah. He's attached a quote from the surveyor, and it's less than they estimated. So rather than the £1,000 that they estimated, it's only £750, and he said, "Are we happy to go ahead with this?" And I suggested, yes, we are, because it's obviously cheaper than before. Okay, and then he sent round a second one. If I can find it. There we go.
It's a quote for motorist
Yeah, they need a flood risk assessment, as it will be useful consultations will show which parts of the site are developable and which aren't. At a later stage, when we have a layout, we'll need obviously a full drainage system, etc., etc. And he has suggested these people here. Was there a cost on this one? I can't see.
£750 plus that.
Oh, £750 plus that. And again, it's under what we said before, so I'm suggesting we're all happy with that. It's got to go ahead anyway and be done. I just wanted to mention that to council rather than just say, yeah, go ahead and do it. That's it. Right, thank you very much, people. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much.
Safe journey.
Thank you, good night.
Thank you.
Good night.